What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Recapping Steelers-Seahawks 30-23. Big win for the Steelers, man. This is a kind of a must-have, must-win type of game um, for both teams, honestly, to be honest with you. Steelers needed a win to kind of stay within the AFC playoff race. Still on the outside looking in, but, their chances look a lot better than it did, a couple weeks ago. And for Seattle, too, like this was a game that they needed to stay in the playoff picture on their side. And, really what I thought the game came down to is I thought, Pittsburgh honestly kind of came into Seattle and kind of punked them out, to be honest. Just really impressed with the physicality, especially in the trenches, on the offensive line. This was something that I felt like in the loss to the Colts a couple weeks ago, I really wanted to highlight the fact that, I really thought that they got pushed around a little bit. Arizona pushed them around a little bit in the second half of that game at home, but really nice response here. Last 2 weeks, the offense has been humming. We've talked a lot about that. Today, they finished with 468 yards of offense, 6.6 yards per play. That is outstanding. Just really impressed overall with that type of performance. I did want to give some kudos to Mike Sullivan, Eddie Faulkner. I thought the game plan was solid. Talked about just on the preview and then on this channel and then the pregame scout podcast on Steelers Now. Talked about how Seattle was pretty susceptible to giving up big plays in the run game. They've really struggled all season there, and I thought that the Steelers' game plan was very obvious. They wanted to run the ball directly at them, a lot of gap runs, get downhill. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, both fantastic. Those two combined for almost 200 rushing yards today. You just look at the success rates for both, 52% success rate for Harris, 46% for Jalen Warren. Anything over that 45% mark is considered like elite. I think that's pretty much where like the best rushing teams in the league this year are. Excuse me, but just an absolute dominant performance up front. I thought the run game was excellent, varied. Pretty much everything they wanted to do, they did. Just the offensive line, they really controlled the line of scrimmage. I thought they moved people. Roger Jones had a really nice block on one of Najee's touchdown runs, and even the receivers. I thought George Pickens. I know we've talked a lot about his blocking, or there's been a lot said about the lack of blocking on Jalen Warren's run a couple weeks ago, but he had a nice block on Jalen Warren's early touchdown run. So just a really good job controlling the line of scrimmage. I thought the pass protection was really good, particularly early on. There was very little pressure on Rudolph. That was honestly something I was a little bit worried about coming into the game, just because as I watched kind of the tape, I thought that Seattle had some guys that, were going to be able to get pressure on Rudolph. But I thought largely, he was kept upright, was barely touched, and just wasn't under a ton of pressure. I do think that Rudolph played another really solid game. You can see it just even the first drive of the game. They go for it on that 4th and 5. They don't get it. Didn't love the play call, the decision there to, throw a go ball on 4th and 5. But I just think that the coaching staff has confidence in him right now. They definitely trust him. And I think that, his play has warranted that trust. You just look at some of the numbers, 18 for 24, 274 yards. Pretty solid. That's very good. You look at his EPA numbers, over 10 for the day, 48% success rate. That is going to get it done every single time. I thought, he once again pushed the ball down the field, but also took care of the football. We talked about some of the differences between Mitch and Kenny and some of the reasons why they went on that 3-game skid. It's just because Mitch was turning the ball over. Like, there wasn't a ton of difference just in terms of like numbers or how many yards they were throwing for or success rate or anything like that. The big difference was turning the football over. So not only has Mason kind of came in here and pushed the ball down the field a little bit more efficient on a per play basis, but he's taking good care of the football. Really only one turnover worthy play over the past 2 weeks. That's really good. And obviously the Bengals and Seahawks defenses, they were exploitable. We talked about that in the pregame. But Seattle's a really tough place to play. I mean, the Steelers haven't won there in 40 years, man. Like, this is going into a hostile environment. But I thought their ability to stay on schedule, kind of run the ball down their throats, kind of took the crowd out of it a little bit. And just they were able to play with the lead. I thought that was a big factor as well. Just a really, really solid offensive performance. Don't really have any negatives. George Pickens continued to do what he does, 131 yards, 7 catches. I think the breakout is definitely here. He's kind of just announced himself like to the world. I feel like the past couple weeks, Pickens is just so talented, man. Like, if they continue to run their passing game through him, they're going to be in good shape. Just got to have somebody that can consistently get in the ball, in my opinion. But some really nice plays. That diving grab that he had. I think it was in the fourth quarter. Heck of a throw by Rudolph too, because there was some interior pressure. I don't know that he was able to really even step into the throw all the way. Just a moon ball, but excellent dive and catch from Pickens there, all hands. And then, he closed the game out with that slant. He was awesome today. Once again, I thought Deontay Johnson made some good plays too. Really nice play that they had. That it was a play action kind of shot play. They brought Johnson was in a condensed split, brought him wide open. I wish that is one thing I wish that the Steelers just scheme kind of utilize a little bit more. I wish they had some under center play action stuff. Like they haven't had that really since like Arians was gone a long time ago. But you see it, man. Like even when they get in games like this where they just pound the rock at people under center, it would be so nice that they just had a very look off of that. And when they were able to go play action, I'm not talking about just like the bootlegs and the nakeds and things like that. But just the play action stuff out of shotgun is good. I think they still you can still use it. It's just not quite as effective. But they did hit on it today. Johnson had the weird like fumble, non-fumble early in the game. Pickens had a fumble that went out of bounds, but there really wasn't like anything honestly negative to talk about with the offense. I mean, 30 points, 6.5 yards per play. I mean, we're just not used to seeing this type of production from that side of the side of the ball in the last couple seasons. So just really, really proud of the way that those guys played. Just another kind of point that I wanted to hit on, just playing mistake-free football. Only 2 penalties for 10 yards today. I thought that was really both teams played pretty clean, but that was something I thought that I was worried about a little bit just with going on the road, playing in that type of environment, was worried about some false starts and things like that. And largely that was not an issue. So that's good. Let's see. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball was more shaky. I think definitely say that with confidence. Wasn't a awful performance, but it was definitely pretty mediocre. Seattle finished the day with a 47% success rate. Really, the big thing for Seattle was just they had a lot of injuries pop up. Right tackle went out, center went out. Kenneth Walker was banged up coming into the week. I don't think he finished the game. He was kind of in and out during the second half. But just talk a little bit about the first half. I thought the run defense was a little shaky. They missed some tackles. Kenneth Walker was kind of getting loose a little bit. It was one of the big concerns coming in was just like his speed, him getting out into open space. The Steelers don't have a lot of speed in the back seven. So that was kind of something that worried me with him and Metcalf. But in the second half, they were forced into kind of being a little more pass heavy. And I thought that was to the Steelers' advantage. Steelers only sacked Geno one time, but it was an absolutely huge play. The strip sack from Nick Herbig. Herbig's a player, man. Like he didn't get to play a lot, obviously, because of the two dudes that they got in front of him, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, two highly talented but highly paid dudes. So they're going to be on the field a lot. So he's going to make the most of his opportunities. But I really thought that, for the most part, when he's gotten the chance to play, like it's been really impressive. And that strip sack was huge, man. Not just to get the strip, but also to get the recovery all in one kind of motion was pretty cool. So big play by a rookie there, especially late in the fourth quarter like that. Coverage on Geno, first and foremost, I thought Geno played a pretty good game. He wasn't the reason that they lost this one. He navigated pressure very well, navigated the pocket well, took chances, pushed the ball on the field. You saw the good version of the pocket Geno today, the aggressive thrower that he is. I did think that the coverage was shaky at times. Porter, I thought that this was really one of his least impressive games, I thought. He shadowed Metcalf. I don't want to say that, Metcalf just absolutely dominated or anything like that, but I do think he kind of won that matchup a little bit. Obviously, the big play early in the game, that was just really off a scramble drill more than anything else. He kind of lost track of where the ball was at. And then Metcalf beat him on a couple of breakers. I want to say that the last breaker out of empty, I want to go back and watch that one though, because I think that they may be trying to play a different coverage where he wasn't actually on him man to man. But I have to go back and watch the replay. Both these teams used a lot of empty formations today, which was kind of interesting. I guess it was something they saw on film with the checks. And I know the Steelers gave up a long touchdown last week in empty, so that could have been what led to Seattle kind of rolling with that a lot. But they did a good job on Tyler Lockett. Only one catch on the day. Really quiet afternoon. Tight ends still kind of got loose a little bit. I mean, that's going to be a thing. it's going to be a thing the rest of the season. They just don't have enough bodies there. I thought that you kind of saw some of the just natural limitations that some of those guys have pop up in various times today in open space and coverage. I think Fant had 5 or 6 catches for about 60 yards. Parkinson had 2 for 38, had the big catch late in the second half on the sail route for a chunk gain. But just overall, I think the defense was just really up and down more than anything else. They let Geno out on a scramble late for a 25-yard gain. They did hold in the red zone a couple times, which was nice. That was something that's really plagued Seattle coming into the game. They were near the bottom of the league, I think 28th in red zone efficiency. And they went 2 for 3, I think, today. The Steelers went 3 for 7. But that's a little bit skewed too because Najee could have scored on that final drive, but he went down. But I just thought overall, the Steelers did a really nice job, making sure that Geno was uncomfortable enough. I thought the pass rush could have been better. Would have liked to have seen when they were getting into all those empty looks. One of just the critiques that I had when Geno was kind of getting in a rhythm, I wish Austin would have sent a little bit more pressure because they weren't getting home with 4. Watt was winning a couple reps every now and then, but just I would have liked to seen them blitz them out of those empty looks and just see what would have happened because thought that some of the conservative play calling on the back end was kind of hurting them at times. But run defense was better in the second half. You'll take the wins as you can get them. I just think overall, like them winning a game in which their defense wasn't quite great, like they were good enough, but it's not like they were forcing a bunch of turnovers or they had the one big turnover late, but overall, I thought the defense was pretty average today, and they still won. So that's a good sign. I've talked all season on the channel, on Twitter, Steelers Now, whatever, about the Steelers just kind of being a limited team because they only have limited ways in which they've shown they can actually win. But today was a little bit different. I think that's pretty cool going into the final days of the season, regular season that is. So, with that being said, Week 18, Steelers, Ravens. Got to win to get in. It's going to be really interesting. There is like one scenario in which I think they can lose and still make the playoffs, but I think that's extremely unlikely. I think most of the predictors have them at about like 24, 25% right now. Really what it's going to take is the Steelers are going to have to beat the Ravens next week, and then they're going to have either the Jags lose or the Bills lose. Jacksonville plays Tennessee. Buffalo plays Miami with the AFC East on the line. So who knows? I think Harbaugh was asked today. They drummed Miami. Harbaugh was asked today about what starters he was going to play, and I think he was non-committal. I am going to be fully honest. I think if I was in his situation, I would probably play my starters at least for like a half, just because, man, like a 2-week layoff headed into the playoffs is not what I would be willing to sign up for, especially in a situation where, that first game you could play, even as the 1 seed, could be against a team like Cincinnati or Cleveland's defense, or against a team such as like Buffalo, who, has Josh Allen, one of the best players in the league. I wouldn't be wanting a 2-day or a 2-week rust period there to come out slow, even at home, and get yourself down in a playoff game because you're rusty. But Harbaugh's different. And look, it may or may not matter, right? Like the Steelers had a similar situation to this in 2019, where they, had the chance to, they needed to win to make the playoffs, and Harbaugh ended up playing his backups, and they still beat them. So, I mean, you still got to win the game regardless of who they throw out there, whether it's Tyler Huntley, Lamar Jackson, whoever. Baltimore's also down a couple guys in the secondary. Kyle Hamilton didn't play today. Brandon Stevens didn't play today. So I'm sure they'll take this week to get some of their banged up guys healthy. I just don't know how many healthy guys they're going to rest. So that's the big thing going forward. Obviously, the elephant in the room is, some of the comments that came out today just about, Pickett, how healthy is he, whatever. Listen, man, it's going to be Mason next week. Regardless. I think Kenny probably could have went today if I had to guess. That's no like inside information. That's just me kind of reading between the lines, but really doesn't matter. Like at this point, the offense is humming. This is the best they've looked in the last 2 years. You got to play the hot hand. It just is what it is. And That's unfortunate the way, kind of everything's playing out in terms of from his perspective. But the Steelers are trying to win games, and I think um, I don't think anyone in their right mind, if you set your personal bias aside, can argue against the rationale that Mason should get the ball next week. That's just how I see it. Maybe people disagree. I don't know, but I don't have a problem with it. We'll just have to see how things play out. If Baltimore does play, all their guys on defense, aside from the couple guys I mentioned that were already banged up coming into the week, it'll be a good test for Mason. Definitely the best one that he's had. Going up against a top-notch defense, one of the better defenses in the league, as compared to some of the units that they played in the past couple weeks. But big, huge game. Like I said, big win today. Pretty awesome football Sunday. We had a lot of good games on the 1 o'clock slate. Steelers get a big win. Can't ask for nothing more on New Year's. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate y'all's support on the channel, not just today, but just in general throughout the year. When I made the channel, I guess it was April, early April, late May, late March, something like that. Had no idea that it was going to blow up the way it has. We're closing in on we're like a couple hundred followers away from 5,000. That's absolutely crazy, man. Don't think that I take that for granted either. A lot of you guys have supported me wherever I've went, whatever site, Twitter, YouTube, Steelers Now, everything. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So thank you very much. Having said that, please make sure that you like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, drop me a comment. Let me know what y'all thought of the dub. And I will check you guys later. I'll hopefully have some type of film room up tomorrow. I'm off work. I'll be able to hopefully crown some film out, provided that I actually get it on time this week. That was the problem last week because I didn't get it till late, but we'll have to see how that kind of goes. But again, you guys have a good New Year's. Make sure y'all be safe, be careful, and I will check you guys next time.